Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Then check out Deal to Heal Teas. With our inspirational teas, you're sure to find something to inspire you. That's dealtohealteas.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.com. Again, that's dealtohealteas.com. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Girl Dad Discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ernest James, and I believe the relationship between a daughter and her father is one of the most important relationships a young lady can have. And therefore, my mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by sharing the voices of girl dads to the world. So check out our podcast on every platform where podcasts can be listened to. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel. Again, that's the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with your host, Ernest James. Welcome to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. All right. Welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I am your host, Ernest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you listen, like, subscribe, and share our podcast on all of your social media platforms. Also, make sure you guys are checking us out on our new YouTube channel, which is the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. When you go there on YouTube, you can find not only this podcast, but you also find our other podcasts that we have available on our YouTube channel. Again, that's Deal to Heal Podcasting Network channel. Make sure you guys are going to check that out. Also, while you're there, check out our partner podcast, the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. On that podcast, I talk to other girl dads like myself about the daddy-daughter relationship. I started this podcast in order to combat the narrative of the absent father and the fatherless daughter. So make sure you guys go and check out the Girl Dad Discussions podcast on our new YouTube channel, and also our podcast, the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. As you guys know, we are a self-sustained podcast, and one of the ways that we stay on the air is by bringing you amazing products for you to purchase in order to keep us on the air. And so our product of the week is our purpose journal, as well as our purpose planner, because I believe we are to journal where we've been and where we are in our lives, and also plan for our future. So you guys can get your copy of our purpose journal and purpose planner on Amazon, or just go to the links below in the description, and you'll be able to click and get access to those items, right? Those items. So we're going to jump right into today. Just like any other day, we are blessed with the guest, Mr. Jose. How you doing?
Hello, how are you, my friend? How are you? Thank you for having me.
I am good. I'm good. First of all, let me say thank you for being here, because you could have been anywhere else with anyone else, but you're here with me and my listeners, and I definitely appreciate it. And so we're going to jump right in. Do me a favor, Jose. Introduce yourself to my listeners and tell us a little bit of who you are and what do you do.
Well, today I'm a leadership and resilience coach, but I didn't start it there. I did my career in corporate America and corporate world in the oil and gas. I began my career in back to 1985 in Venezuela. I'm Venezuelan born, and I began in Venezuela in the oil and gas in Venezuela when Venezuela was one of the top countries in oil and gas. That's today not the case, but that
Mm-hmm.
was in the 80s. So I did my career and in the international sector of the oil and gas with a lot of joint ventures. And like 15 years ago, I came here to the US as a assignee to City
Mm-hmm.
Petroleum, that is the US based company that is affiliated with PDVSA. People know Circo Petroleum because it's all over the US, the gas
Yeah,
station,
yeah.
so that people are very familiar with the gas station. And I didn't like concluded my career there being the CEO of the company. So in 2017, I became the CEO of the company, and so that's where I did my career. Why I pivoted my career, we're gonna talk it later now.
Right, 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 right. So wow, that's amazing. So when you started, I'm sure. Well, I'm not gonna say sure because I don't know. So I'll ask. When you started working in the oil and gas company, I know you ended up being the CEO. Were you already into like management, a management role, or did you just start as a regular guy and then just work your way up?
No, no, no. I started like a regular guy, but I did a lot of leadership positions because, as I said, that for my skills and because I was raised here in the U.S. and then I was assigned to all the international area in the Venezuelan oil and gas. So I always had relationship with the international companies. So
Mhm.
I work with Italian, Japanese, American, British, Italian, French. So a lot of international company and always in leadership roles. And when I came here to the US, I did leadership position, and my final position was the CEO, the top of the leadership position. So my career, I always was in leadership positions.
Right. Okay. Cool. 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 And we're definitely gonna get into you now as being a leadership and a leadership and resilience coach. Definitely going to get into that story. But there's a whole middle part, right? from getting to the top of the food chain in oil and gas industry to becoming the CEO and to what you're doing now. There was like a whole event in the middle. So let's talk a little bit about that, like what what was kind of what happened, and let's kind of dive into that story a little bit.
Yeah, yes. As I said, in 2017, I became the CEO of the company, but that year was a terrible year because the Venezuela, now there is a communist regime there, and the situation began to go really bad for the country and for the people. By the way, today Venezuela has almost 8 million people that as one of the biggest diaspora of the world, because the people begin to starve. The economy begin to be terrible. So here in the U.S., the U.S. administration, that was the Trump administration, begin to have a lot of dispute with these guys, and literally they wanted to throw them away. So they begin to impose them sanctions because they declared that regime as an illegitimate regime. They did a fake elections,
Mm-hmm.
and the situation began to go really really bad between the two countries. And I was in here in a Venezuelan based company, and I said, oh, this is not feeling good. So I talked with my wife and I told her that I wanted to get retired because that year I hit it at 35 years working in that company.
Mm-hmm.
That combined time with PDVSA and Sigo, I already had 35 years. So
Right.
I decided to get retired. And that was my thing. I went to talk with my boss and I asked him to accept my retirement. And he accepted at the end. He asked me 4 months to find the replacement. And I flew back here to the US and I began to go in my retirement mode. That never happened because
Mm-hmm.
in the almost finalizing my retirement, now we are in November 2017, 1 week before Thanksgiving. I'm preparing everything for my Thanksgiving, and I received a phone call. And the phone call was to go to a very urgent meeting in Caracas, unexpected meeting, but nothing unusual because it was a budget season. They wanted me to make a presentation. So I flew. I flew the other day to Caracas with my five top executives. And that meeting resulted to be an ambush.
Mm.
Being ambushed because we became the political pawns of the situation between the two countries, and we were accused to be American spies. So
Mm.
we were accused to be spies that have committed treason to the country, and then in some minutes after, we were caught by the counterintelligence police of that country and with handcuffs, and our hostage situation lasted 5 years. So
All
that
right. So let's go back a little bit. So you're in retirement mode already.
yeah.
You're already in retirement mode. You done put your papers in, and you're like, hey, not only are you in retirement mode, but you're preparing for Thanksgiving. Like we did these 35 years. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to retire. We finna eat dinner with the family, and everything's good. Then you get a phone call, just like, hey, we got this meeting we want you to go to. Before you take your shoes off, you're right. Before you get completely comfortable, we want you to go take this, be a part of this meeting. And you go to this meeting and then end up getting arrested for being a spy.
hmm yeah.
It's like something out of a movie, like for real. It's just like
It's really
Jason Bourne or something.
it's real, but that's the story, my friend. So the people can get, every time I talk about this, people get like a what? But yeah, it's what's happened to us. We never, in our worst nightmare, expected that happened to us because you never expect something like that. It's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
So when we saw what was going on, we saw that was a mistake. Our first reaction is this is a mistake, something wrong. Was not a mistake, my friend, because in the moment we get caught, the dictator of Venezuela in national TV announced in national TV that that he have caught 6 American spies in
Mm.
Venezuelan soil. So it began to be a real terrible situation. So we were headed to the military dungeon that they have for the political prisoner because there are a lot of political prisoners there. There are a lot of political prisoners, and we were separated at 6. I saw my colleagues 1 year after. So
Mm.
the first year I stayed in a solitary confinement during 1 year in a place totally locked. I didn't know what was going on. So I lost that sense of time and I didn't have no clue. So was something that you cannot imagine that the situation we went through that first year was really terrible. I lost 100 pounds because I was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've had a little time to just kind of imagine, what would that even look like, you know, and definitely, I kind of figured they would have separated you guys, which I'm sure was the first thing that they did, you know, but having now been able to talk to your other colleagues from the whole experience, were all you guys in solitary confinement? Pretty much just probably at different areas or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Two guys were we were putting in separate condition, but in separate place. and and
Mm.
and I didn't have no clue where they were because nobody never told me where they were. I knew where they were was, as I said, 1 year after, because the situation began to evolve from bad to worst because the
Mm.
relation between the U.S. and Venezuela began to get terrible. It went so terrible that the two ambassadors were recalled. So the two ambassadors, the Venezuelan ambassador and the U.S. ambassador, both were recalled. Now there's no ambassador. There was no, a diplomatic representation. There was no direct talk. So we were literally left behind. And
Mm.
what the U.S. government did is that they went to the UN, and the UN flew to Venezuela, a UN commission. And that UN commission was who when they interviewed me, because they saw me that I was already in a very, very bad shape. And this guy they told us that they have, because they came two times. The second time they told us that he had talked with the president of Venezuela and said, "Hey, this guy had to be feeded and had medicine because they're gonna die." So the guy didn't know exactly how bad we were going. So what they did is they decided to put us together. That's the first time I saw the other guys, and they gave us a call. I could talk with my wife, and that's the first time I knew that what was really going on. My wife, after that, she flew to Venezuela. She took the risk and she flew to
Mm.
Venezuela. She saw me like 3 hours. I had like a 3 hour meeting with her, and now I'm more aware about what was going on, and I knew that the U.S. government was really working hard to bring us back. So they have already 1 year having negotiation, uh, and uh, and that, of course, for us was a moment that gave us hope, knowing that something was going. And now I'm with the other guys too. So the situation began to evolve.
Okay.
After the second year, the situation began to evolve, but always was not always steady, because we became the pawns of the situation.
Mhm.
So that if the negotiation began to be softened or harder, it began to affect us. So we were like this, a carousel, never was steady,
Mhm.
never was steady. During the rest of the time, always was, we can be good, and in some moment, everything was gone. They began to allow us to have books, for example. And one day they come and they took all the books, no more books. And we stayed like, I don't know, 10 months without books. Things like that. So we were like ups and downs all the time. It was terrible situation there.
So when they allowed you guys to come back together, were the other guys, had lost weight as well as just
All,
as bad
all,
state of you also?
all of us. I was the who lost most weight, but one of the guys, I remember, he lost like 60 pounds, the other lost like 50 pounds. All of us lost weight, all of us.
Mhm.
And all of us were in really bad shape, because we suffered, three of us suffered scabies, and two of us suffered bronchitis and pneumonia. I suffered COVID 2 times. I suffered a heart attack. So we went through a lot of things, from the the health side. To tell you the truth, I don't know how I did survive it.
Mm.
Maybe that was God.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. Well, so you guys come together, right? They allowed you guys to come together the second year.
Mhm.
Were you guys together for the rest of the time period, pretty much?
Yes, we stayed the next 4 years, and let me tell you, that was something that for me, I always say that it was really like a miracle, because we were not friends. We were colleagues, but we were not friends. You have coworkers, but you don't
Right.
know their story, their nothing. So now we're together and we begin to talk. And when the first thing that we discovered, that we had a lot of things in common, because all of us had more than 30 plus years experience, successful career. All of us had more than 30 years married. All of us had more than 30 years married, and all of us had wonderful families. And that was a great connection,
Yeah.
We discovered that all of us had that commonality. Now we're talking about our families, our kids, so that really created the momentum to give us more hope. And we created something that we called it was a survivor plan. We created a program to survive. So we created a program where we stay doing it during the next 4 years on a daily basis. We stay doing things on a daily basis. We created a routine doing things. For example, exercising. We created like 2 3 hours routine of exercise. One of my colleagues, he's a marathon runner, so he created a complete routine of exercising. So we begin to regain, muscles. We begin to read the Bible and pray. We had a sanitizing routine, because now it's the pandemic, and
Mhm.
we did a lot of things in a very comprehensive way. And one of the things that I decided to do too, because they allowed us to, our family begin to bring us food, because Venezuela was having terrible situation with that. food. There was lack of food. So they asked our family to provide us the food. So what my family did, because my family was here in the U.S. and I was in Venezuela, the logistic was
Yeah.
complicated. So what my family did is that my eldest son, he moved to Colombia, that is in the border with Venezuela, and
Mhm.
he into from Colombia to, because he didn't go to Venezuela. He was in Colombia for his safety, but he
Mhm.
provided to somebody in Venezuela that food, and that person cooked and delivered it to me. So can you imagine that logistic during 4 years?
Hmm.
And they allow us to do that every 3 days. Every 3 days we had like supplies. So every 3 days I had to return the trash cans. So when I begin to return the trash cans, I begin to smuggle letters inside the trash cans. So that's the way I could communicate with my wife, and we continue doing that for the next 3 years. And
Hmm.
those letters became my book. My book,
Wow.
it based
Okay.
letters, yeah. So when I came back, my wife has compiled all those letters, and we edited all those letters, and we, of course, we took not all, because there's a lot of letters,
Mhm.
around 1,000 letters. I took, the memories, the momentum, the things, and I converted it in my memoir, my book. My book is based on in those letters.
Wow, wow, that's amazing, and we definitely want you guys to know. To my listeners, we will have the link down below to the book, and if I'm not mistaken, it's from hero to villain: your true story of the Sitco Six, right? And Sitco is the gas company. So we talk about Sitco, the gas company. The Sitco Six is what Jose and his colleagues became known as. And so we definitely will have the link to the book in the description of the podcast. So make sure you guys go check that out and check the book out. So, Jose, what ended up being, of course, we know that you guys ended up getting released. So, what was that process like? Hopefully it was a peaceful release, and didn't necessarily have to send the Marines to come get you guys. But what was kind of happened with that leading up until you guys actually getting released?
Well, let me tell you, almost the Marine came to release that. But the negotiation began to flow, and there was not direct negotiation during years, so that was complicated. And now it's the pandemic, more complicated, even. So in the 1 year before I released, going back in 2019, because this happened in 2017, so now we already have like 2 years. In 2019, the US created an office here called the Special Presidential Envoy for Hostage Affairs, the
Mm.
SPIHA, SPEHA, SPIHA. So that office is attached to the State Department. By the way, it has the rank as a Sub-Secretary of State. He's a high rank officer.
Mhm.
That guy was appointed by Donald Trump, and he was ratified by Biden. So the good news is the guy still is in office. That guy, his name is Roger Carson. He's an ambassador. He flew to Venezuela the first time to have a direct negotiation face to face in December 2021. That means 1 year before we were released. So the first time we saw the face of that guy was 1 year before. 1 year before, we received a visit, a totally unexpected visit, of a guy telling that he was coming to negotiate directly among us. So now we are really thinking that something is going to happen. It took 1 year, but
Mhm.
we're now really, really thinking that we're going to come back. We didn't know when and how, but now there's a guy talking for us. So that guy began to fly every 3 months. He touched base with us. So he came in December. He came in March. In March, he could release one of us. He took one. So now one of our guys is back in March. He came back in May. In May, he didn't do nothing because these situations are really complicated, because anything can fail in any moment. So
Mhm.
he was thinking to bring another one, but something happened. I narrate that in the book, and and then now we're in May. 1 month before that means in April, he released a guy from Russia in the middle of the war between Russia and Ukraine. Was released a guy called Trevor Reed. I don't know if you recall him. Trevor was released by him, and we knew about that case because by that moment we already are having a small TV, so we saw
Mhm.
it in national TV. And when we knew that a guy from Russia was released, the first thing is that we didn't know that somebody was in Russia. We learned after that there were more people in Russia. It was Brittany Griner and Paul Whelan and Evan Gershovik, several guys that were in Russia. And that guy was released. So when we knew that the guy was released, we said, we're going to be on. And the surprise for us was that on October 1st, they opened the door and that day we were released. But it was not an easy release. It was a
Mhm.
movie release because we were headed to the airport in Venezuela. They put us handcuffed and they tied us and they throw us in a Caribbean island called San Vicente and Grenadine in the middle of the ocean. So we landed in the middle of the ocean, and the U.S. plane landed there, the two planes, and then that day we learned that we were swapped by the two nephews of the president of Venezuela. So that was a prisoner swap. So, movie style, you know, have you seen it? Same thing. So well, after that we came and we stayed in a military base here in the U.S. in a decompression program during 10 days, and after that I came back. I came back to my house October 11, 2022. I was released October 1st, but I touch base here in my house 11 October of 2022. It's gonna be 2 years very soon.
Wow, wow, that's an amazing story, and definitely, definitely like something that movies are made of. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually made a movie, with you guys. That would be awesome too. You
I,
know,
I, I'm having conversations right now.
yeah, good, good, man, good, because that's definitely, we're not always in a position to take advantage of some of the things that we go through. So if you guys are able to take advantage of an opportunity with all that you've been through, I definitely wish blessings upon you guys for that. So but so that being said, you come back home and definitely not going back to the oil field to the gas company.
I know I guys.
So we're definitely not going back that way. So does then you start a career then as a leadership coach, or how did that become an idea and work into that?
Let me tell you how the idea come and how I have been evolving. Because when I came back, first of all, I didn't want to know nothing more of oil and gas. I was done with that, but I didn't know what to do with my life. So the first thing that I began to do was my healing process. I went to a trauma center. I began to be treated by therapists because I was having PTSD events. So the first around 6 months was really, really taking care of my health. And during that time, I began, because for me it was a surprise knowing that the other Americans were in the same situation in other countries, very
Mm,
similar than us. So our families, they had created a movement called the Bring Our Family Home campaign with other families. There were 20.
mm,
They got together and created a Bring Our Family Home campaign. And they had put a mural with our faces in Washington. Can you imagine a mural, a
mm,
big mural with all the faces of a lot of people in there? And the mural became very famous because Brittany Griner was part of the campaign, and she was kind of famous. So that people went to take photos there. So when I came back, I said, "Hey, I want to go to the mural to take a photo with my face." So I flew to Washington. And that day, I didn't know, I was not aware that I was the first person that had returned going to the mural. So it became to be a big event in the press.
mm.
So There was CNN, Fox, Wall Street Journal, a lot of people. When I got there, I was like, what is going on? I didn't know. I had around 1 month that I have came back. But the good thing is that I met a lot of people that they are connected to the hosted community, and
Mhm.
to know people and know former hostages that have been gone through this same situation, and met families that are going through this ordeal. Wow, that touched my heart, because I was not aware. And for me, it was like, wow, this is something that I had to talk about this. So I decided to begin to verbalize my story, and I begin to get connected to these foundations there. So they begin to call me to, hey Jose, do you want to come in an event to talk? Hey, we're gonna do this. Can you write an article? So I began to collaborate with all of them, and I begin to get more and more and more involved. And one day I said, hey, I like this. So I decided to create my coaching program, because I did had my leadership experience, and now I have my survivor experience. So
Mhm.
that's why I created my leadership and resilience coaching program. I named it Life Pills for the Survivor Guide, LPSG. And today that's what I do. I coach basically leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, or people that are having problems in their life, because I simply what did is the same thing we went through, the same thing we managed during my captivity. I tested, and I said, "Oh, this is going to help anybody, because it can't help me, it can help anybody," and that's what
Mhm.
I did. And I begin to also speak. I begin to do more public speaking, and I have been doing more and more. I have been becoming more and more frequent with speaking. I have been keynote in several events, and
Mhm.
my book that it went out like one and a half months ago. So now I'm promoting it. So that's have been evolving. I
Yeah, yeah.
didn't say no. I wanted to do this. No, it came like an evolution for me.
Right, right. Good, good, good. So now, at the time of we're recording this, you guys have a milestone coming up, right? So let's tell us a little bit, even about that event.
Well, the October 1st is gonna be the anniversary, my second anniversary. So when you release this podcast, I'm gonna have around 10 days that have been going to the anniversary. I don't know what's gonna happen. Last year, I received several journalists that wanted to did an interview. They always had tried to put the six together. Has been
Hmm.
difficult, because some of my colleagues decided not to talk. For some reason,
Right,
they
right,
decided to, and I respect that.
right,
So
right.
they had tried to put the six together, because we became really like a brand. So the single six became like a brand, and for us, the icing of the cake was that in December we were called to the office of the mayor of Houston, where I live, and for us was a surprise that he did a proclamation, and he declared the single six day here in Houston. So now I have my own day here. So
Mm,
it became like an event. So in December we're gonna also maybe have an event. It's gonna be the first year of the proclamation. So that this became really a situation that you never expected this
right.
happening. I never imagined something going like this to me, but it happened. And today I'm connected with my church. I begin to do church service because I rediscovered God. And now I'm going to the church with my wife. I'm doing a lot of church service. So this has been a complete evolution for me. It has been a
Nice.
great healing process for me.
Nice, nice, good, good. So Jose, I thank you so very much, man, for coming on and sharing your story. Amazing story, right? I definitely want to read the book. Can't wait for the movie. Hopefully that comes, that comes, because definitely an amazing story. And like I said, you never do think about that something like that could happen to you. It's like, especially like you said, one day you're planning Thanksgiving dinner, and then next thing you're in solitary confinement. Like, what happened? So Thank you for coming in and sharing your story. Before we get out of here, just so I can leave my listeners with something that they can take with them, you being a leadership and resilience coach, what is something, a few tips that you may give our listeners that may be dealing with their own kind of solitary confinement, whether it's emotional, whether it's, mental, whatever situation they may find themselves in. What is, some tip that they can use in order to help them to maintain and even overcome, that situation?
That's a great question because this is exactly what I teach. I always tell the people that everybody has insight and inner force. That I call it the unbreakable leadership spirit. Everybody has it, but you have to unleash it. And the way you can unleash it is having the connection with God. So anybody that's going through any situation in life, that there's several things that have to be done. That is a very personal choice. The first thing that somebody that's going through anything is you have to be calm and focused. The first thing that you have to really, really is be focused in what's going on and be calm. Because when you decided to be focused and calm, you begin to see the situation more clear. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's not so bad, or even if it's bad, you can have the solution near to you, or maybe you don't have the solution, but now you have the path to get the solution. That's the first thing.
Right.
Thing is that you need to treat your mindset. Because I was going through a lot of negative mindset during my first year, but when I decided to switch to a positive mindset because I wanted to come back to my family, that changed totally the situation. So having a positive mindset, even in the dark moment, try to
Mhm.
have a positive mindset. The third thing that there is a recommendation is never navigate things alone. Seek help, get connected with the people that love you, but never do things alone. Because this is a big mistake that people do when they're going anything. They you isolate, you go to your solitary
Mhm.
confinement.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
take care of your well-being, because that's another mistake. When you're going to adversity, you don't care of yourself, your mental and your physical health. And the last one, and that I believe the most important, is connected with your spirituality. In my case, I connected with God. And finding your purpose. Find your purpose. So when you put that like a package, you will overcome things, because anything in life you can overcome it. But it's in you. So that's my recommendation to your audience.
Great, great, great. I love it. I love it. So, Jose, again, thank you for being on. I want you to have the last word, and I also want you to leave us with your social media handles and your website and things like that, where we can find you. And again, have the last word. Leave us with word of advice, inspiration, however you feel. So I'll give you a couple seconds to think about that. To my listeners, thank you guys for tuning in once again to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you guys have ever thought of starting your own podcast, make sure you guys get your copy of the Start Your Podcast Now ebook. That you can find at ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. I wrote the ebook to help others start their own podcast, and I just made it real simple because there's a lot of courses and videos and things that you can follow to start your own podcast. But a lot of times it just seems like it gets really messy, and sometimes hard to understand. So I wrote the ebook, Start Your Podcast Now, in only 3 steps. So you can get your copy at ebooksbyejames.com. And I know it works because I not only did I write the ebook, but I turned it into a workshop that I'm now doing at middle schools and high schools with students, teaching them to start their own podcast. So make sure you guys get your copy of the Start Your Podcast Now ebook. Also, make sure you guys are checking out my official website, which is the dealhealfulfill.org. Again, that's dealhealfulfill.org. Because again, my mission, as well as the podcast, is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with their problems, to heal from the pain and to fulfill their purpose. So make sure you guys are going to check us out at our my official website. And also there you can find information on how to book me to come to be a speaker at your events, or even to facilitate a workshop at your school or organization. And ebooks at ebooksbyejames.com is where you can find the Start Your Podcast Now ebook, but there's also other ebooks there, including an ebook called The Four Core, which is the core four values that every daughter should get from her father. That ebook we actually use on our podcast, the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, and we discussed that those four core values with the dads and the daughters on that podcast. So you guys can get your copy of the core four, as well as the other ebooks that I have there at ebooksbyejames.com. Make sure you guys go there and check that out, as well as check out our inspirational t-shirt line at deal2healtees.com. That's deal, the number 2, healtees.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That is our tagline. So make sure you guys go to Deal to Heal Tees to check out our inspirational tees, as well as our podcast merch, which is our t-shirts with our podcast logos for the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, as well as the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. And last but not least, the last couple years, I've been able to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops every other month talking about everything forgiveness, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of self. What does it mean to forgive? Who does forgiveness affect? You know, how forgiveness affects even your mind and your body. Just everything around forgiveness is absolutely free. And again, it's every other month. So whenever you listen to this podcast, either one just ended or it's one coming up. So you can go to forgivenessmission.com and register, sign up for the next free virtual workshop, or you can go to Eventbrite and look up Forgiveness Workshop, sponsored by the Forgiveness Mission, in order to sign up there. It's absolutely free, but definitely has tons of value and knowledge and information. So make sure you guys go and sign up for our free workshop on forgiveness with the forgivenessmission.com. Jose, once again, let me say thank you so very much for being on. Thank you for sharing your story with me. I want you to have your last word, so the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, well, you did a great introduction of yourself. I have my webpage that is Jose Connect, joseconnect.com. You go in my webpage, you can find everything, because I have concentrated there everything. I have there my coaching program that I do one-on-one and group coaching and virtual coaching too. I have my speaking events. I have all the speaking I do. I have my one-page speaking and a lot of videos of the speaking gigs that I have done. I have the book page that you can find the links to go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Okay, you can buy it directly there in the book. And also there is my YouTube channel there. I do a weekly newsletter. So I'm doing also a podcast too. So I have a lot of things there. That everything is in joseconnect.com. Anybody that wants to contact me, direct message, there is the calendar. They can arrange a 30-minute chat, and I'm here open to hear anybody.
All right. We can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, where our mission is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Tees. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. Let's go to deal2healtees.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening.